Hello, good day, good night, good afternoon. I'm Black Bright, aka Dark Shades, and I'm doing a relationship series. I don't know how often I'm going to do it because it's not all the time I get a vibe or the inspiration to do a video. Over the last couple of days, I've been getting quite a lot of inspiration, so I've decided to just go with the flow. But if you do want to keep in touch with what I do, please subscribe. That way you'll know as soon as it goes up, you'll get it. Like if you like it, put a thumbs down if you don't like it. And since I'm a woman talking for men, any comments I receive from men would be appreciated. So this is about why black men are screwed up and have been screwed over. And I think the first thing is that I believe it's because of the high expectations, not only of black men, but white men as well. I mean, just being a man comes with it certain expectations. You're supposed to be virile, you're supposed to be strong, you're supposed to be masculine. And this is for heterosexual males and the view we have. And maybe that's why even so many men have gone the other way. Who knows? Because the expectations are too high. But anyway, I'm talking for heterosexual men and the expectations of them, that they have to be a certain caliber and come with, it's almost like there's a template for men. And if they don't... Yes, sorry about that. Isn't that typical? As soon as I'm going to do a video, the phone rings. Well, hopefully there's no disturbances. I've turned it off. So I got to the point where we were talking about the myth about the black man and why it raises so much expectations. They're black, they're strong, they're sex gods, they can go on for hours, all of those kind of things. And it's a myth. Well, not a myth in all cases, but it shouldn't be an expectation. Just because a man is black doesn't mean that he has to fit a certain template. And I think that is the demise of how confident a black man feels a lot of the time. Because just supposing a man is you look on a black man and you think, oh yeah, he's a sex god, he's going to go on for hours, and he has prostate problems, or he's impotent, or he has diabetes which can affect his erections, those kind of things. How is he going to feel when he feels as though he needs to fulfill certain expectations? It's going to come over in lots of funny ways. He's either going to be aggressive, he's either going to be reclusive or introverted. And so, yeah, that's a part of how it starts. It's basically the expectations, high expectations. Like I said, mythical, sex god, strong, masculine, versus him being a human being a person who feels pain, who suffers from emotions and is prone to depression and periods of sadness. I mean, when those emotions take over, when he's depressed, when he's upset, when he's despondent and anxious, where does he go? Who does he go to? Okay, if his mother is still alive and she's a compassionate and loving woman, maybe he can talk to his mum. But sometimes mums can they kind of perpetuate that same expectation and say, oh, son, these are the things you have to go through. Don't worry about it. It'll be over soon. They almost like they dismiss. They don't mean to. They don't have the skills and a lot of people don't have the skills just to listen and understand where somebody's coming from. People think it's a given. People think that just because you talk to somebody, they're listening and whatever they say is accurate or is helpful. But it's not always the way, because people listen from their own perspective, from their own experiences, and they extract what you're saying to them based on how they feel and their experiences. So if you're telling somebody they've, you're at your wit's end and you feel like jumping over a bridge, and they're the type of person not to do that. They're going to say, oh, don't be so silly, just mull it over, you'll be all right in the morning, not realizing how deep you're wounded. And so when you're unable to express those emotions, those deep emotions, to somebody who you feel safe with, and somebody who can actually help lift you up or support you or facilitate you into becoming a bit more hopeful, you're going to go on the decline, as many do. More men commit suicide than women. Why? Because they are unable to speak. They feel unable to share. When they do share, they feel as though they're being shut down. So, friends. They can try talking to their friends. Some of their friends don't know their arse from their elbow. And like I said, depending on their experiences, are they able to advise you? Sometimes they advise you wrong. Sometimes they say, oh, look, forget about her. There's plenty of fish in the sea. You know how much, you're pining over one particular woman. And instead of them empathizing with you pining over that particular woman, they'll probably say, oh, you know how much women out there. There's plenty more fish in the sea. Grow some balls. Whatever it is a man will say to another man to make him feel as though he should not be feeling the way he is feeling, especially over a woman. And then you have, then they can gloat or they can mock and they can bully and, they can actually make you feel worse. And it's not that they make you feel worse. What they do, their actions will make you go within and you won't want to share anymore. You'll just think to yourself, look, this isn't helpful. And if you're sensible, you'll just try and find somebody who you can talk to, even if it's a stranger. Sometimes it's best to talk to strangers, anybody who will listen. Somebody in the shop. You know how many people want to talk and they have no one to talk to? Sometimes you go into the park. You don't go on and on and on because that can be a bit wearing. But so you have to choose. It's difficult because some people have so much inside. There's so much to come out that they do go on and on and on. And if that is the case, people are going to not want to take all of that on. So I guess it's about being selective about what is bothering you the most and concentrating on that rather than compounding it with all the other things that are going wrong and it being a longer story. And maybe you can save a particular story for one person, another part of the story for another person, and another part of the story for another person. So you're not overloading one person. Because remember, the person that you're talking to is also human and also has an attention span of, they say, 20 minutes. So for 20 minutes, they can give you time, maybe a bit of understanding. But after that, they're going to slide. They're going to slip away. So also with friends, when you're talking to friends as a man, they have their own insecurities. They're not going to tell you what those insecurities are. And you'll normally find it's the men that come over the most confident who have the most insecurities. So you're there thinking, oh, that man's got it. He's got his act together. He knows what he's doing. Sometimes they don't. Those same ones who are mocking you and making you feel bad, they are so often going through the same dilemma. They have the same issues, but they don't want you to identify in them. So when you say what you're going through, you're upset or you're afraid or whatever, you're actually reminding them how they feel. And they don't like that feeling because it makes them feel as though they're losing control of their image and who they are. So they'll dismiss you and cut you down because they don't want to know, they don't want to hear. So you have to kind of choose who you confide in and who you disclose to and make sure that that person is safe and that you feel comfortable. And the way you can gauge whether or not it's safe to talk to somebody, you just say something small like, oh, I had an argument with my girlfriend or with my mum. See how they respond just by saying that one word. Now, if they say, oh, God, that always happens, then you know that that person isn't the right person to talk to. Now, if you say that to somebody else and they say, oh, really? You must be feeling awful. How are you feeling? What do you think you want to do about it? And they actually try to engage you about it, then you know it's safe to share. So you can normally tell whether or not people are safe to talk to and whether they're male or female. You need to feel safe, and you can tell whether or not you feel safe because your instincts will kick in. As soon as you say something that makes you feel a bit vulnerable about how frightened you are, how upset you are, how disappointed you are, how betrayed you feel, as soon as you say those words, you'll get a reaction from the other person that tells you it's safe to disclose or it's not safe to disclose. So you've got mothers, like I said, who say, come on, son, you need to be strong. Don't be silly. You're not a girl. You're a boy, And you have the fathers, if they're around, who'll say, well, look for the strongest person in the group and fight them. You need to join the army or you need to toughen up. Not exactly what you want to hear when you're feeling vulnerable, insecure, upset, and afraid. And that is the problem why black men are so screwed up, because they have to fulfill this image. Even when the police beat them up, it's because these police think that they're invincible. They think that they're these strong black men who can take licks and who are almost, like I said, invincible. So they beat them beyond recognition, some of them, because they think that they can take it. They're big and strong, so they need to use excess force. These people, these black men only are black by the colour of their skin. They're not robots. They're not machines. They're human beings just like you. And they bleed just like you. So just because there's this myth going around about black men and what black men are like, that is what's causing the problem. So, if you need advice, I guess you can go to the World Wide Web, but there's no compassion, there's no personal service, there's nothing that you can actually offload on. And I would suggest a lot of men who are going through trauma, sadness, depression, that they keep a journal. Well, keep it safe. I mean, you can get journals at Lock. I mean, you can get some fast women who are going to go and try and open it, but if you're with a fast woman, well, I can't do anything about that. But I tell you something, it might seem simple, but I'm telling you guys, it's the most effective thing to do, because what you really want is to get it out of your system. Whatever's hurting you, whatever's disappointed you, whoever's betrayed you, you write it out exactly how you're feeling. Feeling sad, feeling angry, feel like you want to kill somebody. You write it out exactly what somebody's done to you, why you think they've done it. And you can actually go back afterwards and read it over, and you can actually find different things about what you've written even. And sometimes you might even think, oh, bloody hell, I'd never thought of it that way. But just by virtue of writing it out, you can get a feeling of release. And to be honest, when I started doing these videos, over the last couple of days, it's because I was journaling. I didn't even think about what I was doing before. I wasn't thinking about making a video. But I learned a lot just by putting my thoughts out there. And I think that is what you need to do in order to kind of safeguard you a little bit more, especially your health, your mental health, especially through times of struggle and when times are really hard. Your journal will be your best friend. So, when they need advice, okay, who will listen? Teachers, educators, maybe counsellors, next door neighbour, maybe. Thing is that with black people, they've grown up with this thing, you know why people for know my business. He's a proud man, he's a proud person. I'm not going to make them know, say, this has happened to me, or I don't want that to happen to me. And the thing is, I remember telling you the story with my mother. And she didn't have any money one time, and she was going to work, and they was inviting her to lunch, and she never had nothing to eat. I'm not telling them that I don't have anything to eat. I will tell them that I'm on a diet. Pride. The time my mother was suffering. My mother was taking licks from my stepfather and never told anyone. I only found out when she was dying at the age in her 90s. Because she wanted to keep up this image, a proper marriage. I've been married 50 years. Or 70 years, however long it is. I've been married, happily married, and I wouldn't change him for the world. And he treated her like crap. Until him never have no use afterwards. And then him calm down. When him calm down, then she can say, oh, this is the type of person I wanted in the beginning. But my point is that because she didn't want to disclose because of pride, and because, you need to earn respect, and you can't be respected if somebody knows that you're being beaten up, or they know that your husband is out philandering, or goodness knows what else. And it's the same with men. You have that pride that makes you hold things in and not share them. And you know what that does to you. You know the stress that causes. And I tell you, stress is the main cause of cancer. People don't know that. Yes, it's hereditary in a lot of cases. It's genetic in some cases. But we all have cancer cells in us. And stress can trigger it. So all I'm saying is that the way to reduce stress is to make sure that anything that's bothering you, you write it down. After you've written it down, write it down exactly how you feel it in its raw form, and then maybe a day or two later you can go over it and analyse it. Analyse if you're still feeling the same way. You probably feel a bit more lighter, and what can be done to mitigate some of those feelings that you felt when you wrote it. You don't have to change it. You don't change it, but by looking at it from a different angle, it might make you feel less angry, less depressed, less upset, less emotional. So who really cares? Parents, they can be self-absorbed. Friends, they can just be keeping up an image, especially if your friends are male. Siblings, you've got the sibling rivalry and competitiveness. Sometimes siblings aren't supportive. And relatives, will they make the time for you? So sometimes there is nobody to talk to. Nobody wants to make the time. Everybody's in a rush. Everybody's doing something. And they haven't got time to sit and listen to you and your woes. So how do you look after yourself? Like I said, journaling. And I also suggest Gestalt therapy, which you don't have to pay for. It all depends how adventurous you are. But what you do is, if somebody's really, really hurt you, whether they're alive or dead, you sit in front of an empty chair and you give it to them, uncensored, everything that you're feeling, every hurt, every pain, what they did to you, everything you didn't get an opportunity to say if they're dead, you give it to that empty chair, imagining that the person who caused you that pain, or who you feel caused you that pain, is sitting on that chair. And that is supposed to be it's not metaphosis. It's not catalytic. Anyway, it's supposed to bring a change. So boys to men need to talk to anyone who will listen and put their pride aside. Like I said, there are more men out there who are going through what you're going through than you can imagine. Heartache, broken marriages, relationship, custody issues, problems with children, unemployment, working too many hours, falling out of love, impotence, health conditions, issues with your partner. You'd be surprised how many people are going through the same thing. And the inspiration behind this video is because a friend of mine, Jerry Harris, sent me a video about men not talking. And there was a man who had a group of friends, 3 friends, and they'd been friends for years. And one of them committed suicide. And they thought that they were really close, and they realised that they didn't even know anything about each other. They went to the pub and had a drink, or they went socialising and had a meal or whatever. They bonded that way, but they didn't really know their friends. So what one of them decided to do after their friend died was to meet up and open up. And so each one of them spoke about what they were going through. And one was going through a divorce, the other one was going through health problems, another one had lost his job, another one felt lonely. And just through talking and being able to release that, they were able to support each other and understand each other's behaviour. So that was the inspiration behind this video. So arrange to meet new friends, or one friend, or a few friends that you already know, and let them know that it's a male bonding session. So yeah, just like that video that I shared with you. Actually, I think I should play it. I don't think there's any music on it, so one sec. Now it's 2 minutes long, so here we go.
Absolutely shocking to me. I watched a TV drama series called A Million Little Things. It's about 4 men who are always together at every sports event, at every family event. These guys knew each other for over 10 years. In their eyes, they were best friends. Then on this terrible day, one of them ended his life. The other 3 guys were devastated, not only by the death of their friend, but more so from the fact that they had no idea what was really going on in their friend's life. Right at that moment, they all realized the friendships they had with each other had no depth. They spent so much time together, but didn't even know each other because they never talked about their personal struggles. They had no idea that their friend was suffering from depression. The first episode hit me like a ton of bricks, and I started questioning the depth of the relationships I had with my male friends. Right away, I phoned 3 of my closest friends and I convinced them to go to a restaurant that night. At the restaurant, I told my friends about this TV drama and suggested that we should all start sharing a little bit more about ourselves so we can be more supportive towards each other, like true friends. As soon as I said this, one of my friends interjected and said, "Okay, I'll go first." And he said this: "Every time I go home, I feel lonely." We were stunned that he said this because he was always so upbeat. The next guy told us about some serious health challenges that he was going through. And my third friend told us about his marriage was falling apart. We had no idea. Men need to encourage each other into opening up about what is happening in their lives to their close male friends and family members, and know that when they share their struggles and concerns, that they're actually creating a safe environment for their friends to do the same. If your friends ever need help, by doing this, you'll open that door for them to get that support from you.
Yeah, so let's get back to my notes. So that was the inspiration behind this video, and I hope it's resonating with some of you who are watching this. Too many people putting on a facade. You don't have to be the atypical strong black man like we are labelled strong black women, as though we can withstand everything we go through. We can only take so much. We have a pain threshold. We are not invincible. That is why a lot of black men are screwed or screwed over. We're not invincible. And, I wish they'd stop saying that thing. They say it as though it's a band of honour, strong black woman. It's not a band of honour because, it's a facade. You're still hurting, you're still feeling pain. The only difference is that you're not letting people know the pain that you're going through. And that's the same with men. They're going through pain and they'll be called strong black men just because they're not sharing their pain with other people. That's not strong. That is survival. So need to talk, need to share, realise that all men are going through the same thing, afraid to die, afraid someone is after them, afraid someone's going to leave them, afraid to be abused by police, afraid of their partner, what their partner's up to, afraid of dying alone, afraid of terminal illness or any kind of health illnesses, and afraid of losing faith. So I do hope you find this video inspirational and helpful. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.